Okay, hi, welcome back. So, we have talked about content editing, line editing, checking for errors, beautifying the structure, and all of that. When you're done, the next thing you want to do is read again. The first editing you do is is just that, is a first attempt. You don't stop once, just like you cannot just write the first thing and expect it to be perfect. It does not work that way. So once you're done with line editing, content editing, structure editing, then you read again. Like, use a fresh eye to look at it and critique it before some ruthless editor makes you feel horrible. Okay, not all editors are bad, but under stress and certain conditions, some people might actually react badly to a poorly written content. So you want to make sure as much as possible that you're helping the editor work on your content. You're helping the editor do his or her job. You're not doing the editor a favor, you're doing yourself a favor, because at the end of the day, your name is going to appear on that content. And when somebody says, wow, this is amazing, you want to be able to take credit with your full chest that yes, this is amazing and I did it. Because you know that the work that your editor did was not that much. That should be the goal when you write and edit. So you read again and then you go through this checklist. Grammar and spelling, check. Paragraphs, check. Spacing, check. So now the next question that you're going to ask yourself is, okay, after editing, I've cut down sentences, I've broken them down to 30 words, 30 sentences are now 90 sentences, 1K words. Amazing. Now you ask yourself, is it still saying what I wanted to say? Is the message still intact, or have I completely broken it out and scattered it? Do I sound right? Is the tone and voice appropriate? Tone and voice here is usually dependent on the final consumer of your content. So, depending on the brand you're working for, the client you're working for, the audience that is going to consume the content, you decide the kind of voice that you use to communicate with them. So, if any of your answers is no to these questions, is no, please fix it. Find the problem and fix it. All right, basic editing tips. First, don't edit immediately after writing, or at least don't count that editing as the final editing. Like I said, you don't do it once and say, yep, you're done. You're not done. You cannot be done at the first round. It's not possible. So take some time off if you can, and then come back to re-edit. Now, edit in stages. It's just what I said. Don't edit the message and the grammar and the spelling at the same time. You're going to mix things up. You're going to forget things. You're going to escape or overlook some things, and you don't want that. So start content editing. Forget the grammar, forget the punctuation. Just focus on the message first. When you're done, you move to punctuation. When you're done, you move to spelling, you move to grammar, and then structure, and then back to content. Then forget textbook English. Like I said, also, don't try to sound smart. Resist the urge to add all these technical jargons, just unless you are writing for a technical audience. And even technical writing is defined as simplifying technical topics to your readers. So I don't think there is a lot of people that are interested in the jargon right now, unless you're writing an academic content, which I don't think that's what you want to do here. So try to have a conversation with your readers. Speak to them. Let them let them hear you as they read. It is possible to imagine the writer of the content. I mean, if you've read novels, you've read non-fiction, any leadership book, and you actually the message resonated with you, there would be some point where you imagine the person saying those words to you. That's how much impact you want to have with your content. Then grammar editing tools are nice. Trust me, they're amazing. Grammarly is beautiful, but you're very much smarter than you think. So trust yourself more. Now, this is what I mean. If you're writing a content for Nigerians, maybe you're writing something spicy, humorous, a controversial topic that is like very Nigerian, not local per se, but specifically for Nigerians. There are times that you're going to insert some slangs. There are times that you might want to use all these trendy words. Sorry, I can't I'm not much familiar with trends. I'm trying to remember. Okay, the very common one at this time of the year or whatever, adulthood NASCAR. So if you're trying to communicate to a particular audience that would resonate with that message, add it to your content. And when Grammarly tells you nah is a wrong spelling, please tell Grammarly that you know what you are doing and leave the spelling like that. So there are some things that you know better than the grammar editing tools. You know your audience better. You know the purpose of your content. So as much as grammar editing tools are amazing, I need you to trust yourself when you're writing. Now I'm going to introduce you to one other tool before we move forward. The name of the tool is Hemingway App Editor. So they said Hemingway App Editor makes your writing bold and clear. So and it's free to use. You just come here and you paste your contents. Let me copy this and paste. So this is going to tell you the readability. You can see that the readability here has increased to 10 and they say aim for 9. So this 10 uses a grade. The industry standard is that the lower the grade, the better the performance of your content. Remember I said you don't want to use jargon, you don't want to use all these big words, you want to be as simple and clear as possible. So this tool tells you what you're doing wrong. It can tell you you're using passive voice. It can tell you you have too much adverbs, like helpfully, perhaps. Don't worry, you're going to see this. I actually mentioned this in the slide too. As much as possible, reduce the adverbs that you use. So it's flagging adverb, flagging the adverb, and to even tell you the kind of word that you can use to replace it. It's going to tell you 30 sentences are hard to read, and that's not so bad. I mean, it is over 2,000 words. So I think and it says I have 145 sentences. So 30 out of 145, not bad. And and it says 32 sentences are very hard to read. Okay, I think that needs adjustment. But the point is this tool is very free to use and it is very helpful, especially if you're just started. So if you take your time to go through the comments that it's making, you'll be able to know. By the time again, when you use it for like 5 times consecutively, you'll be able to spot these errors yourself and you will not even need this tool. I don't use this tool anymore, but when I started writing, I used to use it a lot of times. So back to our lesson. All right, basic grammar tips. Speak actively. Are they listed the box? I know you went through something like this in the first class where we talked about the subject, verb, and object. So as much as possible, you want to use that structure with your content. When you start using the box was lifted by Ade, I know it's a very simple statement, but when it comes to content, there are some kinds of passively written statements that gets confusing in the middle. But when you are speaking actively, it's easier to understand, oh, this is what this person is saying. So Ngozi drove Femi to school sounds much better than Femi was driven to school by Ngozi. In fact, I can even make it longer. Femi was driven to school by Ngozi in her car, which was repaired by you. You lose them when you start using passive sentences. And if you remember what I went through in the Hemingway app editor, you would see that it's mentioned that passive sentences are there. Now, it's not that you can't have passive, I mean, it's not possible. You're a human being, and sometimes we tend to drift towards passive writing. You can, but you want to limit it in your writing. Then the shorter your sentences, the better. I've mentioned this already. Now count the number of words in this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The same thing. I wrote it. If you can write something in 5 words, please don't use 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I mean, come on. It's the same message, but it's getting too much. And an additional point here, please do not be redundant in your writing. When you write, the shorter your sentences, the better. And you now continue that you can write something in 5 words, please don't use 15. That's repetition. We already understand what shorter sentences mean. You don't have to, unless you're trying to emphasize something. And it's accepted, but when you do it multiple times, people will flag it. So other examples of many words, in order to just say to, due to the fact that just say because, please just say because. I especially do not like this one. In the near future, just say soon. It's as straightforward as that. Then the next thing is don't make your readers guess. Complete one line of thought before jumping to another. This is about clarity. So if when you're making a point, you're listing 7 ways to build a productive team, for instance, and you've told them that these are the points you want to cover. And okay, then let me use a very recent article I read that broke my heart. So I was talking about differences between a LinkedIn and a LinkedIn profile and a resume. Like, should you replace your LinkedIn profile with your resume? Or should you replace your resume with your LinkedIn profile? And the person would, one sentence, talk about LinkedIn. The next sentence, talk about resume. Then the next sentence might be a general statement. Then the next one will talk about LinkedIn. Like, what is going on? Tell me about LinkedIn first, and then tell me about resume. Or if you want to be talking about them together, draw a table now and tell me, okay, on the left side of is LinkedIn, on the right side is resume. This is the difference. Did you get? So don't confuse people with your content. Pay attention to your tenses and be consistent. I know this one is a little tricky. Past tense, present tense. In fact, past and present is not tricky. It's when you start hearing present continuous, past participle, that it gets tricky. And nobody is perfect in that aspect. So it's, if you feel like you've passed the message, then there's a very high chance that your tenses are fine. But when you read it out loud and something is sounding wrong to you, maybe the tenses is part of the problem. So that's just the easiest way to read it. And then I said use punctuations. Please and please use punctuations. Example, let's eat, comma, mom. The message there is, okay, we want to eat food. Mommy, come and join us. Compared to let's eat mom. That means you want to eat mommy. Please, we are not eating mom. Let's put punctuation in our content. Then the next one is always use simple words. I've already mentioned that do not use jargon. An example, the biggest impediment to his knowledge acquisition. When you could have just said his biggest learning challenge. Even this one said is is not too simple. If you take time, you can even break it down to simpler words. So we're not saying your readers are dummies or they don't understand English, but you don't want to give them assignment. They came to you so that you solve their problem. People don't just go and start reading stuff on a website. No, they, or on wherever it is that you publish your work. They read stuff because they need help with something. And if you start giving them work to do, if you start making them search for the meaning of impediment, meaning of acquisition, you're not helping. Then avoid adverbs. I've mentioned that, and also the Hemingway app editor mentioned that. Finally, we'll talk about researching for your writing. Well, this is more of writing than editing, but remember I said editing, you have to check for accuracy, authenticity, and well, if you're going to do that, you have to research. If you're an editor, maybe you got a new role and you are supposed to be editing. Somebody submitted something to you and said 95% of Nigerians have bow leg. My brother, my sister, please check and confirm. If the person cannot provide proof of that number, remove it from your content, because your integrity is important both as a writer and as an editor. So don't resist the urge to exaggerate or generalize or just put number because somebody told you that putting number is nice in content. If you don't have the right numbers, do not put numbers there. Or if you must, put the range 30 to 45%. That's still okay. And then you still need to cite. Tell us where you got that 30 to 45. You can say, okay, after reading multiple marketing content from people like HubSpot and maybe Backlinko, you found that 30 to 45%. Now that's still relatable. We know that you actually made research and you generalized from that research. So depending on what you're writing, you can get information from Google, from research papers, from social media groups, interviews, like if you're doing journalistic writing, you can get a lot of information from interviews. You can get from forums like Quora and other places. And well, your final step in your writing or in your editing is to approach from a unique angle. In case nobody has told you, anything that you want to write, somebody has written it. I don't even want to know where that idea came from. There is somebody that has written that thing before. So your job is to not replicate something that already exists. It's to approach from a new angle. Yes, there may be some similarities in those contents, but you want to make sure that there is something new, there's something interesting about what you're writing. So whether you add that at the initial writing stage or you add that after you've edited and you found that something is missing, make sure that there is something unique about your message. And we have come to the end of this section. You have a very fun assignment. This is an excerpt from a content I edited a very long time ago. So the context here, I've provided you the context, is traveling safely. Like you want to write about telling people that when you want to travel, this is our Nigeria, please or be safe. And I gave you the first two paragraphs in that content. So your job is to proofread and edit. Now, what I want you to do is proofread it like you're an editor, like somebody submitted this thing to you and you don't want to just edit it without telling the person, this is what you did wrong. So when you edit, when you're done editing it, restructuring or whatever, you have to add a note at the end that, okay, I added this because of this. I removed venture because it is a difficult word. I added I removed culture because I don't like it. Give reasons for what you did. It shows that you actually understand what editing is. Sometimes, let me just give you a very nice tip. Sometimes when you get content to edit, like if you're an editor now, you're not the writer, and somebody asks you to edit, there usually isn't much that you want to edit there. You just add or remove a few things, like 2-3 things, and that's the end. So I'm not saying there's nothing to edit here. I'm just saying resist the urge to impress and you now go and rewrite everything yourself. That's not what editing means. Rewriting is very different from editing. So we have come to the end of this section. In summary, beautifying your content is very important for better performance and better impact. And you want to focus very much on clarity, elegance, and simplicity. Also, you want to keep in mind some of the grammar tips that we have mentioned before. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something and we'll be expecting your submission. That's the email there. All right, have a good one. Bye.